Welcome to the first cup, except we did the first cup. But now, actually, we missed the second cup. Oh my goodness, darn. Okay, we're on the third cup, so technically, welcome to the third cup. Okay, today we're going to start talking about a little bit more about protecting, preserving, prosecute. See, our archives, our legacy, our laws are under attack. This is a problem. Our personal archiving is no longer protected. We are being told that things have become a civil matter when they've always been a criminal matter or worse. Historically, in the United States, this means we have a tremendous problem with law and order, the process of elections, and the various nature of, well, just about everything. Because we now have people who are passing laws saying, no, you cannot investigate. No, you cannot collect evidence. No, you cannot present evidence. Now, this is a serious problem. Why? Because when you deal with generalized concepts of personalized archiving, everybody has been participants from the beginning of the country in protecting archives. In fact, we've had the strongest laws. As the British went from state to state area, burning down archives. By the way, most of the archives that the British burned and destroyed were personal archives. Yeah, it's literally more than 9 out of 10 archives that were burned and destroyed by the British were private. They were private. They were your private. They were some scientist private. They were some individual that was involving themselves in multiple subject areas: science, governance, philosophies, tactical table reasoning, all kinds of things that were being done by private individuals. We also had people who were studying various types of commerce. And we also had private businesses that were involved in commerce, but were also involved in colonial exercises or colonial cooperative sponsorings along the line of our commitment and understanding to be with our republic, which would be infused with an East Indies Company style set of, philosophies and business practices to continuously stimulate growth, commerce, the building of longevous assets and hard assets. So we now have an incredible change in California that has occurred. It was policy for many years, and people didn't realize it. They didn't hear the policies because nobody read the inner policies that could change, respective to how policing agencies were being ordered to practice their, job processes. And the same thing with prosecutorial areas, that they were being ordered through various types of policies as to how to practice prosecutorial aspects. So there are other agencies where these things were occurring, and people didn't know that there were these hidden processes, these hidden policies that basically said, we're sectionalizing everything and we're deciding that the Constitution of the United States no longer applies. And it went all the way up to the chain. So if you catch a government employee that has done something wrong, let's say in the course of maybe the process of elections, for instance, archiving, national security, so forth, etc. And they can all be rolled into one, because when you get to the higher levels of people participating in the processes of elections, you have a vast array of overlapping things that can occur that deal with standardization of people moving forward with their ideas, with their colonial constitutional capitalism, for instance, which is the contract that is our Constitution. So we end up having people doing policies that say, well, we don't investigate our own people. Therefore, we can't help you even though you've uncovered felony activity, apparently. So all of a sudden you have zero recourse. Zero recourse. You're coming under violent attack. You're having all of these things occurring. They're attacking your finances. They're attacking your cell phones. They're attacking your business communications. They're attacking other things about you. They're posting in government computers lies about you. And this is something that is bad. You have people that have mysterious algorithmic identification signatures stating that their business is a fraud and blocking people's website access, blocking people from doing banking, blocking people from being able to freely see the passing of information across the web. This is extensive. It's rather extensive, and this is California. So we have a long-term policy of mass dereliction of duty concerning the protection of private archives. This effectively means that they only want to sponsor certain types of archives, and of course they only want to control all the information in those archives. And interactive archives are basically constantly becoming a non-existent thing. They don't grab hold. Even though they exist at small levels, they keep coming under attack and getting destroyed. So we have a complete breakdown in justice. And the key point here is that we have the right to protect our archives. The Constitution is quite strong. The laws, the original endorsed pre-Constitution laws, are quite strong. You don't burn down archives. In fact, the policy that we had originally in the country was supposed to be the main staple that would never stop. In other words, if you burn archives, there's no place in the world that you can hide. We reserve the right to pursue you wherever you go in the world and do what we determine is necessary. So if we are going to perhaps arrest you and bring you back and hold you on trial, we reserve the right to do so. Now, checking historical documents can have you running into a whole lot of very interesting things that were put out as, ways to discourage people from coming to the United States and burning us down, burning us out, destroying all of our knowledge, all of our commerce records and capabilities. The War of 1812, we have 1814, the British come in and burn Washington, the city, to the ground, basically. There were some things that were salvaged and saved, but there were many things that did not get saved. And it wasn't just Washington. The British did these short-term beeline missions to go into certain areas and massively burn people's archives. They wanted to destroy commerce records, the methodologies of colonial constitutional capitalism. These were items that were considered to be crimes against the throne, acts of rebellion against the crown. There was even evidence and samples taken involving fantastic, brilliant commerce concepts and practices, actual practices. The British were outraged. Of course they were, because by basically 1810, something had occurred. 50% of commerce shipping worldwide were coming to the United States. An incredible, fantastic anomaly. How is it possible that 50% of all the ships in the world are coming to the United States? I mean, yes, we have this great, big, huge landmass, but at the time, we had a minuscule population. There was simply no way to justify how it would be possible that half the ships in the world were somehow coming to America to do commerce. I mean, what's going on? The British said this. What's going on? What's happening here? And you had people in Europe that were very concerned because they were like, what's happening? America is all of a sudden turning into this gigantic commerce power. What's going on? So it was considered enormously threatening. So there were sanctions against technology, sanctions against us having cannons and all these other things. But we had forefathers that were brilliant and found ways to do these things. I've talked about them in several ways from different times. And it's important to understand that there are all these incredibly creative ways of working with the Treasury, of working with people in business, with working with the average vested citizen and literally setting them up in business. There's this huge controversial time, and we were building mass warehouses. The government was building mass warehouses directly involved in not just assisting, but supercharging trade, supercharging people who had businesses. And there was a lot of bad feelings over it. A lot of people didn't understand what was happening, how it was coming into being, that these things were occurring. And it's crucially important to understand more about this, because it's important to understand the tactical table of commerce, manufacturing, of you utilizing your time for max production. Because something's gone horribly wrong as we have people bringing in foreign instrument governance that was virtually always developed in conjunction with occupational governance rule sets, now being implemented continuously, poisoning and destroying our economic capabilities. And we have to protect this. We are allowed to protect. But the state of California says, no, you're not allowed to investigate. You're not allowed to gather evidence. You're not allowed to share this evidence. You can't share it on the web. You can't share it with people, or you're committing a crime. And we're going to jail you. We're going to arrest you. So we have a complete and utter shutdown ordered by law by the governor of California to stop people from investigating what's going on. Because this is a big thing. In many ways, it always keeps getting tied into politics, into elections, because we have people that are archivers that come under attack. And if you're going to deal with the business of the people, of the vested citizens, archives are necessary. We must have ways to work with information and work the tactical tables, to understand how to keep ourselves at max production, max builds. But something's been going horribly wrong for decades. For decades in California. We've had people who have been making basically as though secret measures to block people from receiving services to protect archives, to protect your personal paperwork, to protect the Constitution of the United States. We're literally talking about parties who have taken money from foreign governments, from foreign organizations, from foreign interest in which they are beholden to belief systems that diabolically oppose the Constitution of the United States, that diabolically oppose colonial constitutional capitalism. We have a very serious problem. We have a coup that has occurred in California. Because myself, as a candidate, allowed to run for 2 offices at the same time, this is allowed. So I run for governor and president. That means both federal election and state election is involved. So now we have parties who have attacked the foundation of my archival holdings, my omnibus archival holdings, as these people have built a series of false laws that are unconstitutional. As we have legislators in California that have moved forward with pens faster than we can step up as citizens and be able to undo these various measures and deal with these numerous matters. President Trump highlighted the use of the auto pen by President Biden and says, hey, this is not legit. You just can't have people using this auto pen because there's more documents getting signed by an apparent entity, the president, Joe Biden, than is humanly possible. And President Trump says this is wrong. This is wrong. Because where is the human factor? Where is the impartment of those of us who have trust to trust the executive leader to at least know something of what's in that stack of documents that they would be signing? I mean, obviously, sometimes these documents would seem to be quite large. And gee, it would be nice if our executive could read every word that's in every document, but do you think that's humanly possible? But see, with me, I would accept that they at least peruse through it and that they were trusting that they picked the right staff and that their staff did the right thing. So I would be perusing through it to look to see if I see any apparent errors here and there and go and say, okay, this all looks good. I'll go ahead. Let me sign this. Now, some people would say as an attorney, no, you have to read every word deeply. We're talking about the chief executive for the country. There are lots of documents that have to be reviewed and handled. We have to deal with understanding the demands for high-volume documents versus the obligation to have some sort of direct hands involved with that document. President Trump says they can, at the very least, you can at least sign it. For real signing with your own hand. And I agree. Wholeheartedly. So I mention this because understanding in between here is an argument that we have people making too many laws too fast that makes it impossible for the citizens to keep pace with understanding what various parties are doing. And we have a huge problem because they're involved in criminal activity. They're involved in activity that diabolically opposes the Constitution of the United States. And we see evidence of this in case after case that eventually surfaces going up through the court chains, and California keeps losing. And it goes higher, and we have the Supreme Court, and the California keeps losing. These are serious problems because we're running into people who are in rebellion. They are told don't do certain things, and they're going to keep trying to circumvent and circumvent and circumvent. And now these people are getting caught. They're blatantly getting caught red-handed in criminal activity on larger and larger scales. It's mind-boggling. So in desperation, we now have the governor step up and say, it's official. He's utilizing something that was essentially policies that were hidden that people didn't even know existed, and steps up and he's blatantly saying, now it's the law. You cannot investigate. You cannot gather evidence. You cannot share information and evidence on the web with people, or you're committing a crime if you do any of these. So if you're being victimized and you say, well, I have a right to do an investigation to collect the evidence together so that I can defend myself. According to California, that's illegal. You're breaking the law. What does this mean? This is not just, oh, hey, look, it's another show for the moment. We're in jeopardy here. We're not just in jeopardy. We're in the middle of more than just rebellion. From my standpoint, the original constitutional words are clear. The attacks upon my campaign camps are considered acts of war. Acts of war. There is a war ongoing in California. We have leadership in California that has directly declared war on my campaign. They have directly declared war on my archives. They have directly declared war on my ability to say, I want to archive and protect the Constitution of the United States. They say that is not allowed. People, this is beyond just saying it's a little fraud case. It's a oops, slap the hands. No. We are deep, deep into people committing treason. We're in a state of emergency. We've been this way for years. And it's taking a long time for people to start absorbing the truth about all the various aspects, about the violence, literally, that has dramatically risen, about the threats to people's lives, about the doxing, about the use of Antifa or Antifa-like entities, the use of people in government to try to encourage people to become nuts and independently act and do things that are ridiculous, dumb, violent, dangerous. We have the right to protect ourselves. Yet California is saying we do not have the right to protect ourselves. The right for self-defense is constitutional. The right to protect, if I take an oath, which I have, to protect the Constitution of the United States, and the governor of California and the members of the legislature of California are saying, no, you cannot protect the Constitution of the United States. Who are these people? What are these people doing? These people are crazy. They're violent. They're dangerous. They're drug addicts. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with some of these people. And I mean beyond acceptability. I mean, people can have flaws in life, but we're way, way past that.